The Las Vegas shooting, inside the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. The crowd was alive with excitement, the lights of the Las Vegas Strip shining brighter than the night sky. Thousands of fans had gathered at the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival, a 3-day country music event on the Las Vegas Strip, enjoying their favorite artists. The air was filled with music, laughter, and the smell of street food. It was supposed to be just another night of celebration, but no one could have imagined how quickly it would turn into a nightmare. Suddenly, around 10:05 p.m. on October 1, 2017, an unmistakable sound pierced the music, a series of loud, rapid bangs. At first, some people thought it was fireworks or part of the show, but as the sounds continued, panic spread like wildfire. The bangs weren't rhythmic like music, they were random, terrifying, and relentless. Screams erupted, and the once cheerful crowd started to stampede. People pushed, shoved, and tripped over one another as they tried to escape. Chaos took over, and what had been a night of celebration quickly became a struggle for survival. From the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, a man named Stephen Paddock had opened fire on the crowd below. He had stockpiled an arsenal of weapons in his hotel room, and from that vantage point, he rained bullets onto thousands of unsuspecting fans. Each gunshot brought more fear, more panic, and more tragedy. In mere minutes, hundreds of people were running for their lives, while some were injured, falling to the ground as the shots continued. The scene looked like a war zone, people crying, calling for loved ones, and hiding behind whatever cover they could find. The calm of a normal evening had vanished in an instant. Meanwhile, Paddock remained in his hotel room, methodical and silent. Investigators later discovered he had planned the attack meticulously, bringing multiple rifles, setting up cameras to monitor the hallway, and preparing to shoot anyone who came close. But at that moment, he was just a shadow behind closed doors, and the crowd had no idea where the bullets were coming from. Each person's instinct was to survive, to run, to hide, but there was nowhere truly safe in that open field. The sounds of gunfire bounced off buildings, echoing across the strip, making the terror feel even larger. In the midst of the panic, stories of bravery and tragedy unfolded. Some people shielded strangers, others crawled to safety despite injuries. Emergency responders pulled survivors from the crowd, carrying them to safety. Parents screamed for their children, lovers searched for one another, and strangers formed human chains to help people escape. The festival, once full of joy, had transformed into a place of horror.
After a horrifying 10 minutes, the gunfire finally ceased. When people emerged from hiding, the aftermath was shocking. The death toll was staggering. 58 lives lost and more than 850 injured. Families were shattered, lives forever changed, and the city of Las Vegas was left in disbelief. For those who survived, the memory of that night would never fade. The world would later call it the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. But questions remained unanswered. Who was Stephen Paddock? Why did he do this? And were there signs that could have stopped him before it was too late? As authorities prepared to investigate, the night's chaos left scars not only on the victims, but on the entire nation. And while the streets of Las Vegas were now quiet, the horrors of the evening were far from over. Hidden in the shadows, the truth about Paddock's life and what led him to this violence was waiting to be uncovered. Stephen Paddock was a man who, on the surface, seemed ordinary. He was 64 years old, a retired accountant, and had no known history of violent behavior. Neighbors described him as quiet, even reclusive, someone who kept to himself. But beneath this calm exterior was a disturbing obsession that no one could see coming. Investigators later discovered that Paddock had spent months meticulously planning his attack, leaving behind a trail of clues that only now began to make sense. He had amassed an arsenal of firearms, including rifles modified with bump stocks to fire faster than a normal gun. Dozens of rounds of ammunition were stacked in his hotel room at the Mandalay Bay, and surveillance cameras had been set up to monitor the hallway outside, giving him near total control of the environment. It was a level of preparation that shocked law enforcement. How could someone plan such a massacre without anyone noticing? Friends and family had no idea of the scale of his obsession. Paddock's life had been filled with quiet routines, gambling, and occasional travel, but investigators found little else to explain the violence. There were no manifestos, no clear political motives, no cries for attention. He was, by most accounts, a loner who had somehow slipped under the radar. Yet behind closed doors, he had created the perfect conditions for a horrific attack, carefully choosing a crowded venue, the timing of the festival, and the vantage point that would allow him to inflict maximum damage. On the night of October 1, 2017, Paddock checked into the Mandalay Bay days earlier. He selected the 32nd floor suite overlooking the festival grounds, giving him a clear line of sight to thousands of concert-goers. He had carefully calculated the logistics, how to transport the guns, set up the cameras, and even account for law enforcement response. The sheer level of planning suggested a chilling calmness, a detachment from the human lives he was about to take.
Meanwhile, back on the festival grounds, survivors tried to make sense of the chaos. People who had been standing just feet apart one moment were now scattered across streets, some injured, some hiding under chairs or behind fences. The immediate terror was over, but the psychological shock was only beginning. Families struggled to locate missing loved ones, and social media exploded with messages from those trapped or witnessing the horror. News outlets raced to report, but the full scale of the tragedy was still unclear. Law enforcement scrambled to piece together what had happened. Officers discovered bullet casings littered across the concert area and realized the attack had come from a high-rise. It was unlike anything Las Vegas police had encountered before, a sniper-style assault on civilians in a public space. As they traced the trajectory of the bullets, authorities knew they needed to reach the shooter quickly, but Paddock had already disappeared from the public eye, hiding in his hotel room. Questions began piling up. How had he obtained the firearms legally? How long had he planned this? And most importantly, why? The absence of motive made the story even chilling. Investigators scoured his home, his finances, and his past, but found nothing that clearly explained the act. It was a crime that defied logic, leaving families, survivors, and the nation searching for answers. In the days that followed, the city of Las Vegas tried to heal, but the scars were visible everywhere. Memorials sprang up along the Strip, hospitals treated hundreds of injured victims, and the community mourned a tragedy that felt senseless. Survivors recounted moments of bravery and heartbreak, strangers shielding one another, friends searching desperately for each other, and parents shielding their children from the bullets. Every story highlighted the human cost of Paddock's actions, and each account added another layer to the horror. Despite the investigation, Paddock's reasons remained unclear. Experts suggested mental health issues, obsession with firearms, or a desire for infamy, but no definitive explanation existed. The chilling reality was that a man with no criminal record and no clear motive had orchestrated the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history, changing the lives of thousands forever. Investigators entered Stephen Paddock's hotel suite on the 32nd floor, unsure of what they would find. The scene inside was chilling. Weapons lined the walls and floor, rifles fitted with bump stocks ready to fire at terrifying speeds. Hundreds of rounds of ammunition were stacked neatly, as if waiting for a calm and calculated plan to be executed. Cameras were set up in the corners of the hallway outside the room, allowing Paddock to monitor anyone approaching. Every detail suggested a mind meticulously preparing for mass murder.
Law enforcement officers carefully documented everything. They found signs of extreme planning, but still no clear explanation, no manifesto, no note, nothing that revealed a motive. It was as if the act had been carried out purely for the sake of violence itself. Detectives and FBI agents combed through his belongings, looking for clues in his computers, bank statements, and personal life. They discovered patterns of gambling, obsession with weapons, and some troubling social media activity.
but nothing that fully explained why he chose to kill hundreds of strangers in a moment of sheer terror. Meanwhile, the survivors were trying to piece their lives back together. Hospitals treated the injured, families mourned those lost, and the city began a long process of healing. Stories of courage and selflessness emerged, strangers protecting one another, complete strangers helping carry the wounded, and individuals risking their own lives to save friends and loved ones. Amid the heartbreak, these acts of bravery offered small glimmers of hope, reminders that even in the darkest moments, human compassion can shine through. As the investigation unfolded, authorities revealed that Stephen Paddock had no prior criminal record, no known mental illness diagnosis, and no political or religious motive. Experts struggled to understand how someone could commit such an act without warning. For many, this was the most terrifying part, the randomness, the senselessness. A man with no clear signs of danger had brought devastation to thousands in a matter of minutes.
The city of Las Vegas, however, refused to be broken. Memorials were established along the Strip, with candles, flowers, and messages honoring the victims. Communities came together, showing solidarity and support for those affected. And while the memories of that night would never fully fade, survivors told their stories, reminding the world of resilience and courage in the face of unimaginable tragedy. Stephen Paddock's life ended the same night, a stark contrast to the hundreds of lives he changed forever. The full motive behind the attack remained a mystery, leaving questions that would haunt investigators, survivors, and the nation for years. The massacre had become a grim reminder that tragedy could strike anywhere, without warning, and that the impact of violence lingers long after the chaos ends. Even today, the echoes of that night still resonate. The Las Vegas shooting changed laws, security procedures, and conversations about gun control in the United States. Families continue to grieve, survivors live with trauma, and the memory of the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history remains a chilling chapter in America's story. The events of that night are a stark warning. Even in the places we think are safe, unimaginable horror can strike. But the bravery, humanity, and resilience of those who survived remind us that hope and courage can rise even in the darkest moments. The tragedy of Las Vegas will never be forgotten, and its lessons will echo for generations to come.